So hello, welcome to my channel. This is another game I've made. It's a maths game. It shows you the level you're playing and its current score, and these numbers come at random. The signs are random as well, and so is the next number. So 21 minus 5 would be 16.00. Okay, it doesn't have to be 0.00 if it's a whole number. 36 divided by 18, that would be 2, isn't it? 2.00. Yeah. So the scores will keep incrementing like that. Yeah. Now I'm at level 2 because I've gone past a certain mark. Okay, and then the numbers grow bigger as the levels go. All right. So this would be probably something like, let me see, 38 and 19, 40, 50, maybe 3 point something. 3.74. Okay, so that's how the game goes basically. If you reach over a certain mark, I will show you later in the video, the levels increment to level 3 and it gets even harder. Okay, that's 50, 60, yeah, 96, that's 86. Oh, divide by 10, that's 9.60. Now you see it's level 3. Okay, my current score is 24. Okay, so what is 298 times 93? Now you really have to be a good mathematician to know to do that. Anyway, that's how the game runs. So it's time for the coding now. Okay, I'm gonna close that. Now in summary, we have a function of records. It requires the score for it to work well. You have the randomizer, and it's going to generate random numbers, and then you have refresh, which will clear the screen for you. Okay, and then you will have signs. Signs is gonna manipulate the signs. Okay, and then you have ask the question. Then it's gonna ask the question. Okay, now ask the question will happen fast in the game. So what should we start with? Let's start with the obvious one, which would be refresh. Okay, refresh requires to know what time you specified. When you set the time, it's gonna say time.sleep, the amount of seconds you've specified, maybe 2 seconds or 3 seconds, and then it's gonna clear the operating system is gonna clear the screen so that you can play the game again without too much text on the screen. Okay, so that's what refresh does. Signs, that's another obvious one. So what this does is this will set oh, hang on, not in capitals. It's gonna set random signs for you. Okay, minus times and so forth. So global signs and answer, those are global variables. Sign equals sign list, then I'll explain this. Sign, now we have sign list. Okay, sign list is what you see. I'll show you where the list is of signs. I need to search for it now. Where is it? It's in Randomizer, and that's the sign list. Yeah, it's got all these signs in it. Yeah, and we'll see that in a minute. But for now, let's go back here. So the list of signs we will be picking at random. Okay, starting from the first part of the list. Okay, from the first position. Now remember, in the list, positions are counted from 0 or right to the end of the list, which means we have to take away 1. because if a list has something like this character, that and that and that, okay, and you're saying you want the length of the list, the length is actually 1, 2, 3, 4, okay. But if you're counting positions and you say position 4, this is position 0, that's 1, that's 2, that's 3, so position 4 won't exist, okay. The length is 4 characters in the list, but positioning them, this starts from position 0 right up to the end. Yeah, that's how it counts it. That's why when we start at 0 here, and if you say start at position 1, if you stay 1 to the length of the list, it's gonna start counting from 2. It won't count 1, okay. It won't count this first one. So from 0, which is there, to the length of the list, which is the length is 4, because sometimes you don't know the length of the list. Could be 100 or 200, whatever, yeah. But the length of the list minus 1, okay. That's gonna position, set the right position, the random position that's within the list. I hope that makes sense, okay. Variable sign equals a randomly selected position from the list, 0 to length minus 1, yeah. That's how it is. So if the sign is a divide by sign, we're gonna get the answer is equal to number, first number divided by second number. We will know what these numbers mean, okay. So these numbers are also randomly generated, all right. An answer obviously is the answer you get when you work out what the actual answer is. Now this will be memory space that the computer is going to store, okay. Answer will be the required answer from the user when asked, okay. That's the answer we expect them to give, okay. So that's what we expect them to give. But however, this variable is stored inside within the computer itself, within your program, okay. So it will be compared to the user's entry later on, and then answer equals that. Then signed is this variable here we'll be using to ask the user what is num1, then signed, okay, then num2, because remember they are going to be variables inside the question, okay. So you can't just say this here, you can't just put that there, because it could be a times or a plus or a minus, yeah. Now when it comes to asterisks, when you are working out multiplications, you use an asterisk. But if you're asking a user and you type this asterisk, they won't understand what you mean. So you need to replace that with the X, okay, letter X. So they know that what you mean is that what's in the first number times the second number, okay. Right, now I don't have to explain all of this because it's it's all the similar thing, it's the same thing you explain as above. When we go down here, that code is going to round up the worked out answer to 2 decimal places, okay. That's what the code is. The answer you got from the calculation, round it out to 2 decimal places, okay. So you're resetting it to that value, okay. Now we know how to generate random signs, so we need to go to the randomizer here. Now randomizer, it needs the level, okay. It doesn't know what level you're on. Now we'll know what the levels are when we go back to this here where it says ask questions and so forth. The level, now global num1, because num1 comes from signs, remember, okay. That's where num1 is, and num2 comes also from signs, and also signed comes from signs. So we need num1 and num2, number 1 and number 2, okay, those two. And the sign, again, sign, as you can see, we need the sign as well, okay, when you're generating random numbers. Now we probably won't need sign in here because it's not used. It's not used, is it? Yeah, it's not used, so we don't need it. However, we need sign list, okay, because it's used here. Right, okay. If the level is 1, okay, now we'll know where the levels change later on. If the level is 1, num1 equals random.randRange. It's gonna choose a range. Now, as you can see the numbers here, yeah. What you notice is that num1 will always be bigger than num2. Number 2. It's because there's the divide sign. We're trying to avoid some, something like 0 divided by, so and so, yeah. We're trying to avoid those figures, We're trying to make it a little bit perfect. For example, if you said we're trying to also avoid negative numbers, yeah. So if it was the other way around, it would be 5 minus 10. It would be minus 5. No. We're trying to avoid that. That's why the first number is always gonna be bigger than the second number. And when it comes to dividing, make sure that the last value of the range is smaller than the first value of the range. Value for num1 in bracket first number, okay, should be bigger than the next number, okay. That's what it is. So we generate it at random. It's randomly generated from 10 to 25 at level 1, and for num2 is 5 to 9 at level 1. So the numbers increase as we go on, okay. And remember the sign list. This sign list will be used here, okay, right there. It's used there. Now if it's used there, it's right here, sign list, yeah. Okay, so you would probably ask, okay, hang on, how do they know what the sign list is here? It's because it's global. If it's global, it's used everywhere, yeah. Okay, so that's a randomizer, okay. This function generates random numbers for the first number and second, okay, depending on which level, okay, depending on which level, okay. Right, now that's the randomizer, okay. Now if I'm going too fast, please feel free to pause the video and type the code if you wanna try this code, okay. The records need to know what the score is, okay. Now for a start, the score, like I said, import random. If you don't know what this means, best if you watch my other videos. You're trying to get the program to be able to generate random numbers, to be able to clear the screen, to set the timer, to exit the screen or the program to terminate. And also Sqlite is what I used for storing the top scorers, okay. And then I'm gonna initiate the value of score to 0, okay, and the value of level to 1. We're gonna start at level 1 when the game starts, okay. Now this will create a table So by values I mean score and name, okay. That's what this function really does. So we're gonna explain it bit by bit, okay. Start, connect to the database, okay, and we call this record book, yeah. So that's what it does. It's going to connect to a database, and then that's what basically all this function does. Okay, reg equals connect.cursor. So this function here is going to connect to the database. What does this function do now? Okay, the SQLite database. Okay, this here create a table. Okay, named players. Okay, name and point. Name is in the format of text, and points is in the format of an integer. Now you don't necessarily have to write these, okay, but just specify them, so they help when you're trying to extract data or play with it a little bit, but only if it doesn't exist. Okay, already create if not exists players name, name data type text, points data type integer. So record the reg.execute create. So we're gonna then execute this here. We're gonna execute create, and reg is what connects the cursor here. Okay, it's a variable that commands your program to connect to the database. Okay, now once the database is connected, we'll create a database named record book. Okay, we are going to also create a table inside it named players, and then we're gonna set is some columns for name and points, and then afterwards we're gonna execute this here, this query. Okay, now after doing that, okay, we're now gonna ask them to enter their name. Okay, name equals, please enter your name. All right, that's what the user is gonna do when this function runs. So what next? Select all values from players. Okay, this function okay, it's gonna look for the player's name from the database, this function here. Okay, it's gonna execute that query. Now it says select all values from players where name equals the question mark. You use question marks in Python Sqlite3 if you are using variables. You don't know what the exact name is, because remember I asked for their name, but I don't know what it is. Okay, I don't know what they're gonna type in. So I'm gonna assign whatever they're gonna type to this memory space or a variable named name. So okay, so now at this point here, line 21, I'm gonna say, now remember what reg does, connect to the cursor and then execute. So reg is always going to be used here in terms of executing and making those database commands. So this time it's going to execute select query, okay, which is this query here that tells it to select all values from players where name is questionable. But now since it doesn't know what the name is, we're going to put it in the variable here. We'll call it name and comma. Okay, and then it's gonna extract what was stored when the user typed their name in. It was stored in here in name. It's gonna add it to the query, and then the records is a new list you've made, and that list is gonna contain everything that's been selected as a result of the executed query above. Okay, so records is a newly okay. However, Suppose the name wasn't there. How are we gonna figure it? How are we gonna do? Okay. If the length of records, okay, remember it's a list. Length of records is less than 1, which means if that list is empty, if it's 0, okay, there's nothing in it, what's gonna happen? Okay. Okay, we're going to insert the player details into the table named players if no record of this player is found. Okay, and what we mean by player details, we mean name, okay, and their score. How do we know what the score is? Remember what this variable does, what this function does. It waits for this value of score. Okay, now we'll get the value of score later on. All right, now at this point, okay, what is that? Now assuming it knows what the value of score is. Okay, now for example here, if the score was set to 0, that means your score is now a 0. Okay, and if you enter your name, it's gonna write your name and then the score is 0. It's scored 0. Okay, and then terminate the game. Okay, so that's what it does here. Connect.commit, what commit does, okay, confirms now I don't know the right or exact word to use here, but what commit does is that it's saying I'm committed to doing something. Okay, I'm now going to do it. Okay, I'm determined. I've set my mind on it. That's what commit does. Connect.commit. Yeah, you are actually remember what connect is the database. So now if you say .commit, that means whatever queries you made up here, okay, they're gonna get executed and they're gonna be you're gonna actually insert these values into the database permanently. Okay, and now we're gonna try and display no. Okay, store recorded. Okay, then scoreboard. Scoreboard, remember, it's gonna show the scores. Okay, but that happens if the name didn't exist. Okay, that's when you insert the new record. Okay, if the name was that is if record list is not empty. Okay, the record list, remember what we said here, getting all values from the database, from the table named players, where name is what the player entered. If that player has played this game before, it's not going to create a new record. It's going to update their points. Now, if what they got before was, let's say, 50 marks, and this time they get 100, it's going to replace 50 with 100. Okay. However, if they got lower marks, it's going to replace the higher marks with the lower ones. Yeah, that's what the game does now. Okay, so the players points with the new points. Okay, that's what it does. Okay, so update query, update players, set points to question mark. Okay, because we don't know what the points are at the moment, where name equals question mark. If I put set points to 5, okay, what if the player actually scored more than 5? That's why we use variables. So the data that we need for these question marks is gonna be score and name. The name is what they entered and the score is what we extracted when this function was about to run. We must have known what the score was, and we'll get to that in a minute, okay? And then query.execute, okay? So these two variables hold to execute above query or command here. Okay, these two variables here, so they should fit right there. Okay, and then you execute that query, and then you type the data, because this data variable contains score and name. Okay, so record.execute update query, which is up here, the main query, and then data is gonna contain score and name, which will replace these two question mark consecutively. Okay, or what's the word for it? Respectively, that's the word. Okay, okay. So now print your score is updated. Okay, and I explained what commit is. I don't have to explain it again. This function confirms the query to be executed. Okay, now this close the database. Okay, I'm gonna close the database. Okay, after closing it, now everything is entered into the database. I'm gonna open it again. Okay, now probably shouldn't have done that. I should have just didn't have to close it. I can just connect or close and then connect it back. I could have just executed another query. Okay, but I'm just gonna close it. It's just like refreshing the page. Okay, connect SQL. So you know what this is. I explained this. I explained that. I explained this as well. However, let me try again and explain further. In descending order. Okay, it's gonna select all values from players, order by points, in descending order of points. Okay, so it's gonna look for the points and then it's gonna arrange them in descending order from the top scorer to the least scorer. Okay, and then it's gonna match those points to the corresponding names. Then it's gonna now do this. Okay, it's gonna say for as long as we're gonna create a variable here. Okay, is in a list of for as long as top players. Okay, this variable we just created. When you're doing a for loop, you need to create a variable inside. It's like it's condition basically. Okay, whereas other loops are like the while loop. Okay, they have their own conditions. The for loop always makes its own condition. Okay, and then assigns that it makes its own condition, but in that condition it makes a variable that it assigns to a list or something that is repetitive. Okay, a list has repetitive data. When you count reading through a list, you start from the first one right to the end. A dictionary also has repetitive data. Okay, so more than one type of data or one data chunk. Okay, so which means top players, as long as it's in this list, okay, reg.fetch all. Okay, you are fetching all data that is executed from this query above here. Okay, and you are going to print this data one bit at a time. Okay, so get all data and print it one at a time. Okay, print it one at a time. Yeah, so that's what it does. I explained what randomizer does, what refresh does, what science does. Okay, so we're going to the main function, which is called ask questions. This is records. I've explained that. Now lastly, asking questions. Global, score, and level, because remember, level is used there when you're randomizing. Okay, it sets the level, and score is used in here, records. Okay, records, you need to know what the score is so that you can record it in the database. Level, you need to know what the level is so you can set the right range, okay, to pick from when asking the question. Okay, anyway, so we're gonna call what the randomizer, we're gonna say randomizer and level. Okay, now remember, at the start, level is 0 and score score is 0 and level is 1. So we don't need to specify their values at the point, okay, because randomizer knows what they are. Okay, then we call signs as well. Okay, so signs is gonna set the signs and the randomizer is gonna set the numbers. So now we're good to go. Print, this is our little menu. Okay, so let's say set the level, the numbers, number values. Okay, set a random sign. All right, that's what these two will do. And then give the player an option to end the game and see results. Okay, what am I spelling? See the results. Okay, that's what it does. And also give them clues of what format expect the answer to be given. Okay, so that's our little menu. Okay, it's what happens at first. Now inform the player of the current score and level. Okay, inform them of the current score and level. This is how you write it. Okay, playing level in curly braces. Okay, and then current score. This, you can do this on your keyboard, it's not some sort of a code. Current score, and then full colon, then the variable for score. Okay, but then because score is an integer value, we want to format the whole string, so it's all a string, the all strings. That's why I write the F here, and they're all in quotations. Okay, \n means it's a new line. They're all set on a new line. All right, so that's how it is. So now it's time to ask. Okay, variable your answer will store the answer entered when the question asked. Okay, that's what it does, like we did up here. Okay, we're gonna say what is num1. Okay, remember it was generated randomly. And then the signed, remember what we said about signed, it comes from signs. Yeah, signed is this here, this. Okay, it's randomly selected. Okay, that's why I called signs function. All right, signed, and then num2 also comes from the randomizer. Okay, randomizer tells you what num1 and num2 are, and sign tells you what the sign is. Then the question mark. Then we're gonna put all these in speech marks, and then put F at the start here. F shouldn't be inside the speech marks, it's outside. So that is then going to make all of these, the strings, the numbers, all data to be in form of strings. It's all formatted in form of strings rather than saying int num1, int num2, and so forth. Okay. So we've asked the question. Now we're gonna check if the is x. Okay. Now let's say that x is a lowercase x. We need to then change it to an uppercase, okay? Because remember, we require the x to exit the game. Remember what we did here? X equals end game. So when they type x, we're gonna end the game, okay? After refreshing for 10 seconds. But before that, this is what's gonna happen. We're gonna say records and score, okay? Record the player's name, okay, and score, okay, using the records score function. I explained that before, okay. That's what's gonna do. It's gonna record the player's name and their score, okay. After doing that, now it's gonna make them wait 10 seconds and then refresh the page. It's gonna clear the screen, refresh the page, okay. In other words, clear screen. That's why we write a 10 here instead of t. As you can see, refresh here, it has a t for time. That's my variable t. I could have typed time. Now it's replaced with a 10, which means when you go to refresh here, time.sleep 10 seconds, okay. Now each function that uses refresh is going to have its own timing, okay. For this part here, we need 10 seconds because we need the user to read the name, the top scorers, as I explained in the records function. It's going to read the top scorers, it's going to try to insert data or update or select values, and then it's going to display all the results. It should take the player 10 seconds to read through the results and see who is the top scorer before it exits, okay. Terminate the game. Right? No. Okay. Oh, hang on. That's what I meant. What if the player didn't type X? What if that happened? They did type X. They typed a certain answer. Okay. Not X. Okay. If that's what they did, we're gonna say we're gonna convert that answer to a floating point, okay, and then we're gonna say print brilliant, well done, okay, and then score plus equals 5, which means increment the score by 5 points, okay, and then we're gonna say display the current score, okay. It's going to display the current score, okay. Then clear. Oops, what am I doing? Current score. Hang on, what have I done? Screen, okay. Clear screen for the next question, okay. After a 1 second wait, okay, give them a second to read this, okay. They're gonna read this for 1 second and then clear the screen. Now, but suppose this wasn't the case, yeah. you cannot change this float, or the answer is nothing to do with the floating, it's something else, something completely different. If the answer does not match our ans, okay, remember I worked out what ans is, okay, so I said if the player's answer is equal to our answer or converted to floating, then floating is a data type, okay, as in, you know, 2.35 or something like that. That's float. Okay, if they're equal, we say brilliant, we give them 5 points. If they're not, we say better luck next time. They score a negative of 2, which means we take away 2 points. Okay, take away 2 points from their current score. Display their new score. Okay, then print display what the right answer would have been. Okay, show them the right answer. I mean, if you get the answer wrong, you do corrections, so that's what the program is gonna do. So you say print, you're gonna format all this into a string. Okay, so print num1, then the sign num2 was actually equal to the ans or answer. Okay, that's what it's gonna do after telling them they got it wrong. Then wait 3 seconds for the clear screen for the next question. After waiting 3 seconds for the player to read these messages above. Okay, then what? Now set the levels. We're going to the final task now. Okay, to set the levels. So like I said, I'm gonna change these levels. Okay, I'm gonna make sure the lowest is 51. Level 1 goes up to 51. Okay, which means if you get a 50, you're still at level 1. Anything above that is level 2. However, level 2, I want it to go up to 101. Okay, that's level 2. Between 50 and 100. Okay, and then anything above that is level 3. Okay, level 3 is anything over 100. So now set the levels. If the score is less than 51, it's level 1. However, if the score is less than 101, it's level 2. But anything above 101 is level 3. Okay, levels. Level 3. Okay, yeah, so then we're gonna ask the question again, which means we are going to carry out what we call ask question function is gonna get repeated. Okay, because it's choose my changes, because what ask question is doing is to call all these functions. Okay, you only call it once when you're starting the game, and then everything else is gonna kick off. Okay, so that's what happens. That's basically what our game is. Okay, I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see the code, keep pausing the video and you see what the code is. Okay, however, I'm gonna save it for myself. It's taken me a long time to do this game, so thank you. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. 12 times 6 is 60 plus 12, that's 72. So 22 times 8 is 160 plus 16, that's 176, is it? So then I press X, press enter, enter your name, Mr. Ma. And there we go. I am the last, yes. And this guy, the top scorer is Harun, which is me, of course. This one is me as well. That's me, that's me. Yeah, then the game ends. Thank you.